What are some common blind spots that you've noticed that this book helps or works against?
Yeah, besides the different organizational forms, it's also really about emphasizing to learn about the real world. So for example, the sector scan I mentioned earlier is really about understanding the details and about the concrete specific situation that the sector is in. So it's not about a general law or theory or model that you can apply to anything, but it's really about knowing how the real world in a specific case looks. We really think that that's a highly important thing that is currently not taught enough to students. And another big aspect is really learning to think about the values that are involved. To really ask the question, why is this important? And what are the sort of the moral dilemmas that are involved in this economic issue? So whether it's, for example, the oil prices or the gas prices that are, of course, right now big in the news. What are the moral dilemmas of a higher or a lower gas price? Why should the government intervene or should it not? And what are different principles to base these kind of decisions on? Because economists are often in the role of advising on these, how to tackle these kind of issues. And I think part of being a good advisor is being able to sort of identify the normative principles and the ethical dilemmas that are involved, and then to also connect it to your more advanced economic theories and modeling the different mechanisms, how they would work, or different policy options. But for that, you really need to know what is at stake and what are we trying to achieve. And that cannot be left just for the politicians or the philosophers. That's something that economists have to be involved in, because they know how these economic issues really work in their details. So they have to be able to identify how that relates to these normative aspects.
Where do we see the normative aspects come back in the economic education that we have now? Do we see them? Where do they come back? Or do we not see them at all?
Currently, they are often sort of said that it's not there. Economics courses, programs often start with saying there is positive and there's normative economics. We are going to focus on positive economics and leave the normative aspects to the politicians and the philosophers. And then maybe there is an ethics course in the program. But if you look more closely, you actually see that often, for example, the principle of efficiency is there in courses. So how to calculate the optimal outcome in terms of Pareto efficiency is often sort of the normative goal that is sought after. And if you are going to think about policy options, that's sort of often the principle that is used and is taught. So there is some attention to this, but it's often sort of not made explicit, or it's just put in this ethics course. So we really think it's important to bring it out, make it explicit, talk about different ethical principles, and really also apply them to specific questions. So, for example, if there is a course on for example, oil, then make it specific to that rather than just talk about the general philosophy or ethics. So really to as economists, to teach students to apply this and to sort of see this in the concrete cases they will be working on in their future careers.